Good evening. Having overrun into a second additional day, delegates at the COP27 Climate Summit finally reached agreement in the early hours of this morning. A landmark deal was agreed to create a loss and damage fund to help vulnerable countries cope with the impacts of climate change. It means developed countries such as Britain will help foot the bill for damage caused by global warming. There was a recommitment for nations to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-pandemic industrial levels. This was first agreed at the Paris Climate Conference 7 years ago. But despite this, there were no further cuts to greenhouse gas emissions other than what had already been agreed at COP26 in Glasgow last year, with a final document referring instead to using low emissions energy. Our climate editor Justin Rolat reports.
These talks were supposed to end on Friday. They went through Friday night and then through Saturday night. It was 4:15 on Sunday morning when the gavel finally came down on the loss and damage deal.
I hear no objections, it's so decided.
The exhausted delegates only managed a ripple of applause, but this is a landmark deal on an issue that has dogged these talks for decades.
Clearly, this will not be enough, but it is a much-needed political signal to rebuild broken trust. The voices of those on the front lines of the climate crisis must be heard.
Hurricane Ian tears through Cuba earlier this year. Today's deal creates a fund to help vulnerable nations cope with the loss and damage climate-related storms, droughts and floods are already wreaking in their communities.
The deal on loss and damage is undoubtedly a breakthrough, but there is huge disappointment in this room. Disappointment that the rest of the text is not more ambitious.
Leaders of delegations met to discuss how they could change the wording to increase the effort to cut emissions. The aim of these summits is to raise ambition every year, but today's deal dials back on what was agreed last year in Glasgow. We need to switch to renewable power, it says, but also low-emission energy.
What is low-emission energy?
It is understood the phrase was included after pressure from the Saudi delegation and other fossil fuel-rich countries, and it is feared it could allow natural gas to be classified as green.
There was a very strong move by some of the petro-states to try and unwind some of those decisions and in fact go back to pre-Paris kind of arrangements. And so, I mean, as you can tell, because how late we are, it was sort of trench warfare on that.
Many nations wanted the targets for emission reductions to be much stronger.
Emissions peaking before 2025, as the science tells us, is necessary. Not in this text. Clear follow-through on the phase-down of coal. Not in this text. A clear commitment to phase out all fossil fuels. Not in this text. And the energy text weakened in the final minutes.
But the deal on loss and damage is genuinely a breakthrough, says the woman who led negotiations for developing countries.
It's given me hope. It's restored faith in multilateralism. It's given us all hope in the COP system and literally in the power of working together.
The problem is, for many here, the rest of the deal is so disappointing. It means what could have been a triumph for Egypt is likely to end up being judged a failure. Justin Rolat, BBC News, Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt.
As you may have seen, the 2022 Men's Football World Cup kicked off this afternoon in Qatar, with a Hollywood actor Morgan Freeman appearing at the opening ceremony to tell the crowd that football could unite communities and countries. Our sports editor Dan Rowan is in Al Khor, where the first match took place. Dan.
Well, after years of scrutiny over their treatment of migrant workers and their discriminatory laws, this moment couldn't come soon enough for Qatar. They had big ambitions for their team as well as for the whole tournament here, but on the pitch tonight, it didn't go to plan for them.
To many, it still seems surreal, but the first Winter World Cup was here. After a build-up mired in controversy, these the images the hosts had wanted their tournament to project. The uniqueness of a first World Cup in the Middle East evident, with fans from around the globe here at the Bedouin tent-inspired stadium, one of 7 built especially for this moment, whatever the cost. The opening ceremony was an impressive and colourful celebration with an international flavour. Hollywood actor Morgan Freund's attention, this was the perfect stage to put on a show. And with a number of world leaders present, the country's ruler, the Emir, then declared the tournament open.
Welcome and good luck to all.
And after his remarkable speech yesterday when he turned on Qatar's critics, FIFA President Gianni Infantino finally turned to the football.
Let's welcome the teams and let the show begin.
Qatar had qualified by virtue of being hosts, but they weren't to have the start they'd envisaged in this, their first ever appearance in the tournament. Having already had a goal disallowed by VAR, Ecuador's captain Enner Valencia won a penalty and then converted it to give his side the lead.
It definitely counts this time.
Qatar 2022's first goal had come from the spot. The hosts were struggling to get out of their own half, and soon they were 2 down.
Oh, fabulous header!
Angelo Preciado's cross finding that man Valencia again. Ecuador in control. This wasn't in Qatar's script. Many of the home fans left during the second half, and with Qatar failing to score, those that remained saw their team become the first hosts to lose their opening match at a World Cup. Qatar now facing a battle to get out of Group A.
Well, in truth, Qatar, that was a poor performance by the host today, and it does make you wonder how they will get on against stronger opponents in Senegal and the Netherlands in their group, and they may well now struggle to progress in their own tournament. But of course, tomorrow, all the attention back in Britain will turn very much to both England and Wales. England train today, as you can see, now ahead of their opening Group B match against Iran. James Maddison, the only man unavailable, Gareth Southgate said today, for his squad. Wales also ramping up their preparations as well ahead of their first World Cup match in 64 years against the United States. So much to look forward to tomorrow. Meanwhile, back here, I'm sure the hosts are just relieved that the football has begun.
Dan, thank you. President Biden has said the US must not tolerate hate after 5 people were shot dead in a gay nightclub in Colorado. A 22-year-old suspect was arrested at the scene. Our North America correspondent Barbara Pletasher reports.
It was nearly midnight when the gunman walked into a dance party at Club Q. He was armed with a long rifle and started shooting immediately. But 2 clubgoers tackled him and stopped the killing.
What I can't stop thinking about is the visuals of the evening, of the bodies, of the blood, of the broken glass, of the carnage and the wreckage, and seeing a safe place turned into a war zone.
Police are investigating whether this was a hate crime.
Club Q is a safe haven for our LGBTQ citizens. Every citizen has the right to feel safe and secure in our city, to go about our beautiful city without fear of being harmed or treated poorly.
The suspect was named as 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich. It's not clear if he was previously known to police. America's gay clubs and bars have been targeted before. The most deadly attack 6 years ago at the Pulse nightclub in Florida. Club Q said it was devastated by the senseless violence against its community. Barbara Pletasher, BBC News, Washington.
Donald Trump's Twitter account has been reactivated after its new owner, Elon Musk, let his followers decide in an online poll whether the former president should be allowed back. They voted 52% to 48% in favour. Donald Trump was banned from the site in January last year following the rioting on Capitol Hill. He then set up his own platform, Truth Social, and claims to have no interest in returning to Twitter. The Housing Secretary, Michael Gove, has written to every council and social housing provider in England to warn that deaths like that of Awab Ishak must never be allowed to happen again. An inquest found that the 2-year-old died from a respiratory condition caused by mould exposure in the flat in Rochdale where he lived. Yesterday, the head of the Housing Association, which rented the flat to the family, was sacked. Well, that's it for now. The next news on BBC One is at 10. Now on BBC One, it's time for the news where you are. Goodbye.